All right. Well, good morning. Today we'll be talking about the Wiki tool in Blackboard. The Wiki tool is meant to be a collaborative uh, assignment tool for your students. So when you create one, all your students will be able to affect it and work together and collaborate on all the information that gets presented. And it's a great way for a class sized group project. So we're going to go to our course, and we're going to go down to our control panel, and we'll open up our course tools, go all the way down to Wikis. We're going to open up the Wiki section. We're going to jump into creating a wiki. We'll just click the old Create Wiki button. And the first things that pop up are things that we see pretty much with almost everything we create in Blackboard. We need to give our wiki a name, and you want to keep this short and to the point, much like an email subject line. So if your wiki is going to be about astronomy, and maybe it's about a galaxy, maybe that's what you want. Keep your name something simple. Galaxies. And then you want to enter some instructions. This is to let your students know what you're looking for, how they should go about entering their information, perhaps even how often you expect them to post or not, and whether you want them to make comments, etc. And again, you want to keep them fairly brief but succinct. So, enter your instructions. And then you have the full use of the text editor, so you can also include images and a video if you need to, and you can format the text however necessary. And once you've got your instructions all posted, you move on down to date and time restrictions. And this is whether you want to make the wiki immediately available, yes or no. And you do this pretty much with everything in Blackboard. And then you have your limit availability options. So display after, display until. And you can use these two settings to create a date to show your wiki to your students after a certain date or until a certain date, or even both. So if you create the wiki ahead of time, but you don't want the students to actively pursue it yet, you create it all, have it all set up, and then just set a display after date to the date you want it to become available to them. And then it all by itself will become available, and the students can then begin working on it. Likewise, if you want to give them a drop dead deadline, you can set a display until, and the wiki will be available to the students until that date. And once that date arrives, it'll become unavailable to them. And you could set both if you want to have a range of time where it's available. Once you have your availability options set, you can you move on down to participation. This is probably the most important section of options. By default, the student access is set to open to editing, and this will allow all the students in the course to go to the wiki and add and delete and change information that's already there. If you select closed to editing, then nobody will be able to actually affect the wiki. They'll only be able to read the information provided to them. So we're going to leave ours open to editing because we want our students to be able to go in and work on the wiki. And likewise, we have a comment section, so the students can make post comments. And likewise, you can post comments to the wiki. And the comments don't affect the information inside the wiki. They're just comments to the information. And it's entirely up to you whether you want them to be able to comment or not. Commenting can be very useful in a group project like a wiki. So you can close it off or leave it open. I'm going to leave it open. And then, are we going to grade this wiki? By default, it's set to not be graded. However, if you want this to be a graded assignment, we can absolutely make that happen by selecting grade. And once we do, we get some extra options to add in. So how many points do we want to make this worth in our grade center? We try to keep everything at a 100-point scale, so I'm going to put 100. And then when do we want to show the different students in our course needing to be graded for the wiki? Do we want it to show up in our needs grading area after they've made one page save, or do we want to have them show up after they've made 4 page saves? And this just means how often have they gone in and edited the wiki. And again, this is an optional setting. You could have it set to 1, and that way, once they make one post, we can immediately go in and grade them. Or we can set it to 4. Maybe part of the instructions is they need to create 4 edits. And once they do that, they'll show up in our needs grading area. You can just optionally uncheck this and they won't show up in the needs grading area. We'll have to go and manually find their entries and then edit them there. I'm actually going to set this. I'm going to have it show up in the needs grading after they've made 2 page saves. And then we can set a due date. You don't have to set a due date; it's optional. But if you set a due date, what this does is it doesn't lock the students out from the wiki. It just means if they make any posts after the due date, their needs grading will be marked as late. The only way to hide or stop them from editing the wiki would be to set your availability so that they can no longer see it, or close the editing section of the wiki participation. But we can set a due date, and perhaps we want, we'll set it for a little bit into the future here. And then, this way they have some time, but they know that they have to make their edits by a certain date. And if they don't, they'll be marked late. And then we can apply a rubric to the wiki assignment. And if you have a rubrics library for your course, this will allow you to go and select a rubric from there. Just by hovering over the button, we can select a rubric, and this will bring up this is my rubric library for this course. If you don't have any rubrics currently created for your course, you'll have to go and create some. And we are trying to get standardized rubrics into everybody's courses. It's a process, and if you're missing some that you need, please reach out to the online department. We can get some to you. Because this is a sort of a writing sort of assignment for my wiki, I am going to select a writing rubric for this assignment. I'm going to submit my selection, and I get a message saying that the points possible has actually been set to the rubrics point possible, which is fine. And when you do apply a rubric, you get some extra options about the rubric. When you look down below where the Add Rubric button is, you do have this red X, which will allow you to remove the rubric from the assignment if you decide you don't want it. You could view the rubric just by clicking the next button. I'll just open up a pop-up window showing the rubrics matrix. You can edit the rubric directly from here. If for some reason you need to make some changes to it, you can do it right from here. And then by default, the rubric is going to be used for grading. However, you can select the option to use it as a secondary evaluation, meaning we won't use the points associated with the rubric, but it's up there for the students to use as a guide. And then again, that's really your choice how you want to proceed with that. Well, I'm going to use it for the grading since I posted it up here. And the last important column in this rubric section is whether we want to show the rubric to the students. By default, it is set to no. So we want to always make sure we go here and set it to the option we want to use. You can show the rubric to the students with the scores associated with it, or you can optionally show it without the scores. And then you can also show the rubric after the assignment has been graded. So the students won't be able to see the rubric associated with the assignment until they submit their completed portion, and you've gone in and graded it. After that, when they review their grades in the My Grades area, they'll be able to see the rubric. I'm going to set it to yes with the rubric scores, so my students all know what's to be expected and how they can be, what they can expect for grades. Once we've got all our information for the wiki creation set up, we go ahead and submit that. And we'll see, here's our new wiki that we've created. You can see I also have another one already going. So once you've got your rubric created in this area, in your wikis area, you've got some options. You can delete wikis if you've created one and you've decided you don't like it or you need to remove it. Just by selecting the wiki, you can click this delete button. It'll remove it completely and it'll be gone. Just a word of warning, if you have grading associated with that wiki, any grades already created will be removed as well. So if you're going to delete a wiki, make sure you're not going to remove any student grades along with it. Likewise, you can quickly set the availability of the wikis with this availability button by selecting the wiki and going to availability and setting whether you want it available or unavailable. And you can set the student access for editing. So if you've reached a point where you think your wiki, maybe you reached the due dates, and you don't want to allow the students to edit the wiki anymore, but they can still read it, you can close it to editing. Or if the wiki's up and you've reached the date where you want students to be able to go in and start working on it, you can open it to editing just quickly right with this button. Likewise, you can do the same thing with commenting. Open it or close it to commenting. And again, like most things we create at Blackboard, when you hover over it, you've got this little chevron that appears next to it, and it's your contextual menu for that item. If we click on it, we can see we've got a few options. We can open the wiki, we can go and edit its properties. If we do, we go right back to the area where we were just at setting all the different parameters. If we need to make some changes, we can go ahead and do that. Maybe I'm going to update the instructions. And once you finish making your changes, you can go ahead and submit them, and all the changes will be applied. And also from that menu, you can directly delete a wiki. Again, make sure that if you're going to delete it, you're not deleting something that's already had student grades applied to it. So that's sort of the wiki viewing area. So let's talk about when you have your wiki created, how do your students find it? So by default, they'd have to click on their tools button in their course menu, and then that brings up a list of all the tools that have available to them, and then you have to go and find the wikis and click on that. Sort of a long route to get there, and then when they do that, they'll see the list of any and all wikis associated with the course. If we want to make that step a little easier for our students, we can create a link to the wiki. So to do that, we just go to our course content area, and and then we have our several options for building content, and we want to go to the Tools menu, and it'll list all our tools. We just select Wikis from there. And then we've got a couple options. We can create a link to the Wikis page, which will create a link directly to the Wiki area, and they'll see a list of all the different Wikis, and they can go in and select which one they want to access. Or we can link directly to a specific Wiki. And by selecting this option, I can go to my list of Wikis that I've already got created, select the one I want, and I can say next. And when I do, it'll want to know what I want to use for the link name. I'm just going, by default, it's going to be set to the wiki name, and I think that's fine. I'll leave that. It'll want to know what color you want the link to show up in. By default, it is set to black, and I recommend sticking to black, but you can change the color. If you do, try to be thoughtful about colors that are hard for screen readers to read or for people with visual impairments to read. We want to make our course easily accessible to everybody. And then you can add text. By default, the text area will be filled with the instructions from the wiki, but you can add more information in there if you want. And again, we have the full use of the text editor, so we can add images and links and additional files or videos and that kind of thing. And then do we want this link to be immediately available? And do we want to track the number of views? So every time somebody clicks on the link to the area, it would track that. And that's a very helpful tool to let you know how much activity is going on with a specific area. I'm going to turn on the tracking. And we have the date restrictions, very much like when we were setting up the wiki. We can set a date restriction for the link to the wiki. I'm going to leave this blank. I'll let the wiki's settings carry everything forward. And I'll submit all my setup here, and then I'll scroll down here to the bottom where it'll be. And we can see now I have a link to the Galaxies wiki. I can also see that I have tracking enabled. The instructions show up right here, and if I click on it, it'll bring me right to the wiki area. Of course, I am the instructor, so it wants me to create more stuff here. But so that's a quick and easy way to make a link directly to a particular wiki. I'll also point out when you do link to items in your course content area, everything gets its own special icon. So a wiki gets this icon that sort of looks like a newspaper setup. You'll see that I have other items, different kinds of items posted in my content area. They all have specific kinds of icons, and the icons all represent something. So this one that looks like a notebook is an icon for a journal. Above it, there's a page with a thought bubble over it. That's a icon for a blog. So everything's got its own icons for quick and for quick visual cues for the students and for yourself to know what we're looking at inside the course. So let's look at a wiki that's been worked on. I'm going to go back to my tools area, go to my wikis. So we've created this new one, Galaxies. There's nothing in there yet. I'm going to jump to this other one I have already created. And so this is what you'll see as a instructor looking at a wiki that's in current use. I see that. So this particular wiki is called Norse mythology, and so I want my students to come in here and post things about Norse mythology. Each topic about Norse mythology should have its own individual page. So how do I know what pages have been created? Well, if I look on the right-hand side, where it says Wiki details, there's the name of the wiki, and then I see two entries here. One says Asgard, one says Balder. These are two different pages in the wiki. Right now we're looking at the Asgard page, but if I click on Balder, I'll go to the Balder page. I'll go back to Asgard here. So when I'm looking at a page, the information I see is who created the page initially and when. There's a timestamp associated with that. It's very good for tracking. And then who last modified the page. And again, with a timestamp. So I see, this is what the wiki says, and I see that these two people, this one started it and this one was the last one to edit it. How do I know if more people have worked on it? If I go to the wiki details area and click on it, I'll see how many comments, how many pages, when it was created. I can also click on this participation and grading button. When I do that, I'll see the list of students who have made entries, how many words, the percentage of words on the page that are theirs, how many times they've made page saves, and of course their percentage of page saves. So I have two students who have worked on this wiki. One of them has entered 22 words, one's entered 12, and then all the breakdown. On the right-hand side, when you're looking at this area where it says all here, if you click on that, it'll show you a list of all the students who have made entries and need to be graded. You can click this, check off the show all members, which will show all the students in the course. Only the ones who have made entries will show up as needing graded, but you can click on them individually to look at their individual stats. So when I've clicked on this particular student, Jane Doe, I can now see that she's made 3 entries on the Asgard page and 1 on Balder. If I want to see the difference between the page before she edited it and after she edited it, I can click on this compare to version 2 link, and it'll give me a pop-up of the initial page information and then after she's edited it, and then down below you can see the title of the page and then all the words that are on it. The ones that are highlighted in green are the ones she added, and I know that because I've got this legend button, and if I click on that, it'll show me what the different colors mean when I'm looking at the edits of the page, and so that'll give me a little information about what's going on there. So I can see that she added some words to it, and then I can see when she made the changes. So I can close that after I'm done reviewing. And if I want to grade her work, I can enter a grade in the grade area. I'll give her 100. And then I can give feedback to her, which she'll see in my grades area. And optionally have this add notes section, which when you click on opens up another text box, and these are notes for you as the instructor. The students do not see the grading notes. It is only for your reference, so you can add information in there about the assignment, the student, things you need to remind yourself about. Once you finish entering your grade information, you just click the submit. The grade has been applied. If you're done reviewing that student's work, you can click on the OK button, and it'll send us back to the participation summary area, and you could go on to look at the next student. So all that said, you can go directly into the needs grading area in your grade center. If you go down to your control panel and go to grade center, you can go to needs grading, and the people who need to be graded still for the wiki will also show up there. So you could go directly to that and grade from there instead of looking at the wiki area. So now that we've kind of seen an overall from the instructor side, I'm going to do a quick viewing of what it looks like for a student. So I'm going to log into my student account. I'm going to go into the course. And I'm going to go to my course content area, and I'll scroll all the way down here. And I see this new wiki that my instructor has posted. I'm going to go to that. So when I go to that as a student, initially this wiki has no information in it, and I see that. I know that because I get a message at the top saying no pages exist for the wiki. Please create the home page. So I'm the first one in. So I'm going to create, we're talking about galaxies. Well, we're going to talk about the Milky Way first. And then in my content area, this is where I'm going to put the meat of my page. You could put, again, they have the full use of the text editor here, so they can put in links to other pages on other websites. They could put in images, videos. They could attach files if they've got some sort of spreadsheet they want to show. So the sky's the limit here, and they give them a nice big default area to work in, so they can post lots of information. I would recommend letting your students, giving the students the idea to use perhaps like a Microsoft Word or something to create their initial entry, unless they've, so they can just copy it and paste it in here. Sometimes if they wait too long while they're working, maybe they work a little bit, they step away and they come back and they try to work some more. If they wait too long, eventually if there will be a timeout. Generally, it won't time out if they're actively working, but you never know, and sometimes it really hurts when you lose all the information you've been working on. So having them work on it ahead of time and say a Word document, at least they'd have it saved in case there's a problem on this end when they go to submit their information. So the student enters there whatever they want to put in, and once they're finished, they just submit their entry. And now they're looking at the wiki. In the wiki table of contents, we see there's only one page, the one we've just created, the Milky Way. We see the instructions for the wiki that the instructor posted, make several posts, etc. And here's my entry right here. Other students could come along and comment. I could even comment on myself. The comments box is just a plain text box. There's no formatting. There's nothing special you can do there. Just entering words, much like a text message on your phone. We'll just add a comment. When their comment is added, you can click on the comments section and it just shows the comments sort of like a text message. People can't comment on comments. They can only comment on the page itself. So that's the student side. If I want to review all the contributions I've made to a wiki, I can use this my contribution page. I'll tell you, we'll go and look at our other wiki that we've been working on. We'll go to the Norse mythology wiki. And here I've done quite a bit of work as a student. And if I look at my contribution, now I can see where I've made updates to the pages. I can compare the updates I've made. So if I click on this, I can see that when I made the edits here, uh, I got rid of one word, added a different word, add some more words down here. And when you edit a wiki as a student, you can edit your information that you've made. You can edit somebody else's information. A wiki is a open sandbox for all the students to go in and work on. So they can edit each other's information. I can see right now that my contributions haven't been graded yet. When I look at the grade area, there's nothing in front of the /100. So I know I can get 100 points on this, but I haven't been graded yet. Likewise, I could look at my my fellow students' contributions, and I can see, and I can compare their work to mine, and that's the student side of things. So we're gonna jump out, jump back into my instructor account. And then one last thing I wanted to mention with the wikis is that even though you're the instructor and you're the one who's setting these all up, you as instructor still have the ability to comment on wiki pages. You can edit the wiki pages. So if you want to work in partnership with your students on something, you can absolutely add your own pages and edit pages and make comments on pages. And that is the wiki tool. Does anybody have any questions?
Hello?
Yes.
First of all, I wanted to know if I had a couple questions, some regarding Wiki, some is, you mentioned this link that you can link from, your course content into a Wiki.
Yep.
This is somewhat unrelated, but it got me to think I would love to be able to link an assignment. Like I have a special place where people upload assignment content.
Mm-hmm.
And I've constructed those, but I'd like to also create a link within course content to get them there. Is that
Oh,
something
sure.
that I can also do?
Yeah, absolutely. It's pretty much the same process. So if we go to course contents, um, we could go to this assessments list here, and we can select assignments,
Mm-hmm.
um, and then we can enter all the information to make a link to the assignment itself. If you've already got them created,
Yeah.
um, uh, they should be posted somewhere.
No, I know
Usually,
that they
okay,
are, and
okay.
they are posted. What there, I have a special, just a tag on the right-hand side
I
that
see, I see.
says assignment exercise upload. That I found that to be the easiest thing, but I'd also like to have multiple access points. So let's say you're in the week that the assignment is due, it'd be nice to be able to click on something and get you to that spot where you can upload the assignment.
Right. That's a
It kind of
great
operates,
question.
I mean, I was just hoping that because that can happen with a wiki, right? You don't have to go
Yeah. Uh,
through. You
Um,
can still,
I see what you're saying now. That's a good question. You can move an assignment from an area it's in to a new area. Um, when you select the move option for an assignment, you can then browse to change your destination folder. So when you click on the browse, I can So right now, this particular assignment is in my course content area, but I could change it to the week 1 folder. But that does move it from the one folder to the other. But when I do that and I submit it, if I go to my week 1 folder, there it is. I can see that here's the assignment I've just moved. So I've moved it from the my main course content to the week 1. So the assignment tool is a little different because when you create an assignment, so the wiki tool creates wikis and it keeps like a list of wikis, and blogs and journals work the same way. And you can link to those individual pieces of those tools. But when you create an assignment, it creates it wherever you are, and it creates a link to the grade center automatically. So it's not like it gets deployed like the other things do. So I'll do a little more research just to make sure that there isn't another way to do that, and I'll email you offline to make sure that we're all on the same page as far as creating links to the assignments go. Karen has a question. Is there a way for students to add images? Let's go to our wiki. Boop. So for on our Galaxies wiki, let's edit our contents. So when I'm in as an instructor, but the students have the same visual text box editor. There is a button right on the bottom row of the text editor area that allows you to upload an image. So they can add images directly from their PC, or they could even create a link to an image. So yes, they can add images. They could also add videos or even attach files using the insert file.
Oh, that's great. I didn't realize they could see that too. Yep. That I know we could see it. I didn't know they could have that same setup.
Yes, they had access to the same tools there.
Thank you.
Yeah. Any other questions?
Rob, this is Tatiana. Maybe you already covered this because I missed the first few minutes, but can you give some examples of how an instructor would use a wiki if you're not familiar with it? Like why? How would you?
Sure. So a wiki is meant to be sort of a group project kind of tool. So for example, here, my example was, we're in an astronomy class and we're going to work on a wiki about galaxies, and I want all the students to participate. So I want them all to make up, maybe have them each in my instructions. I tell them, everybody has to create a separate page on a different galaxy, but then they also are responsible for going in and editing at least one other page that somebody else has created and adding more information, and possibly even making some comments on pages. And it's really just a collaborative group project. And a wiki, if you're familiar with them, they're just really a web page with information. So really it's just a group assignment in a way to get everybody to work collaboratively and to hopefully display the information that they're learning in the course. Does that help?
Thank you. That helps very much. Thank you.
So the big advantage of the wiki over the blog is I can put blog entries and other people can add to them, but they can't edit. If I'm the master of the blog, they can't do anything. They can't do any editing.
A blog, each student has their own. When you create a blog, each student has their own blog. And other students can comment on the blog, but it's meant to be a sort of a soapbox, if you will, where the student is presenting information out to all the other students, and the other students can comment on that information, but they can't affect it in any way. And each student has their own blog area, and the wiki, it's one sandbox where everybody is working together, and then yes, they can edit each other's work, and they can comment on everything that's being worked on as well. So yeah, blog is individual, and where wiki is everybody together.
And when you say edit each other's work, you're really talking about written work, basically. There's
Yes.
not really a way that like a couple people could work on an image. You know, you could post images, but and maybe repost them after downloading. I'm just trying to figure out a context within, you know, a visual medium, because I teach mostly design.
Oh, I see. Yeah. So no, they wouldn't be able to, you know, edit. Well, actually, they could. If somebody posted an image as part of the wiki, and for some reason one of the other students wanted to edit that image, say in Photoshop, they could download it from the wiki and then work on it, and then repost it. You know, remove the old version and put up a new one. That is absolutely possible.
And they could even remove the older version, you're saying?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. That makes sense.
Yeah. Any other questions?
Well, and just to that was a great point about the difference between blog and wikis. And from what you were explaining, it sounds like you could ask students to post a page in the wiki to kind of, you know, maybe own a certain topic or a certain part of the whole. So just a thought.
Yeah, that's absolutely correct. And it's really about how you want them to think about the assignment, and how you want them to go about working on it. So you could have, you know, somebody own a particular section and everybody else gets to edit it, or you could have just one section and everybody works on it.
That's really cool. Thank you.
You're welcome. Any other questions? Okay. Well, thank you everybody for joining me this morning. We try to do these webinars twice a week, once on Monday mornings at 10 and Wednesday afternoons at 2. If you have any technical questions you have or help you need, feel free to email me at rhawk@nec.edu. I also have drop-in office hour on Tuesday evenings at 6 and Thursdays at 10 a.m. So I hope to see you guys again, and thank you for joining me today.